WFUZ-TV, Coastal Alabama, Northwest Florida, the People's Voice.
Hello, welcome to WFUZ-TV. I'm Blair Castro, and I'm here with Thomas Jenkins. Today we have a special guest in the studio, Miss Angie Swiger, who's running for mayor of Gulf Shores here in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Ms. Swiger, thank you so much for being here today. I'm very excited to have you to talk about your platform and to hear about what you could offer the future of Gulf Shores.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If you would, go ahead and dive into it. Tell us a little bit about why you're running for mayor.
Well, I'm very excited about the campaign. One of the things that I love the most about Gulf Shores is its people. People talk about the beaches and our beautiful weather, and we have so many things that are fantastic about Gulf Shores. But for those of us who live there, I've been there for 22 years. What I've learned is that the people are our real asset. So I've always had a calling to serve the people of Gulf Shores. They've always been good to me. We moved there about a year before Ivan, and we experienced that with the Gulf Shores community and just realized how resilient, how kind, and how special the people of Gulf Shores are. So it made me want to serve them on the Baldwin County Board of Education for 11 years and has now made me want to serve them as mayor.
Awesome. I wanted to ask a little bit about your experience with the Baldwin County Board of Education, how you think that ties in to making you a good candidate for mayor, and also what you think about Gulf Shores city schools in general and the whole exit from the county school system. Other cities I see are following suit or trying to. What do you think about that, and how can we strengthen Baldwin County schools as a whole so that maybe these cities don't feel like that's the only solution out of a lot of their issues?
Well, I was appointed to a city system back in 2008 by the mayor, who was the Mayor Billy Duke at that point. And we had worked on splitting from the Baldwin County Board of Education at that time. It went to a referendum, and that did not work out for us. So in order for us to have appropriate representation in the Baldwin County Board of Education, I did run for office at that point and won that election, obviously. So I served for the Baldwin County Board of Education for 11 years. That was 2 terms. And my biggest, what was most important to me during that time was to make sure that the students, parents, and teachers of our Gulf Shores schools. I actually represented Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and Alberta, so I felt the same about all of them. But living in Gulf Shores, it was very important to me to make sure we had a voice. I didn't feel that we had a voice prior to that. So I wanted to make sure if we weren't able to split, I wanted to make sure that we could be the best we could possibly be. And in order to do that, we needed strong representation.
I definitely agree. Actually, my daughter, who's 10 going into middle school, she's been in private school her entire life from pre-K up because in Escambia County, Florida, where I'm from, I couldn't even deal with the public school system for her. It's good for some kids, but for some kids, I really feel like it depends on the kid. She just needed a private school environment. But moving here, I'm very excited that she's going to be going to Gulf Shore City Schools because it's phenomenal. Our experience touring the schools was just, we were blown away with how nice it was. It's not like that everywhere. So I think people don't realize how good they have it sometimes.
Right. Well, we're very lucky. We have a community who's very involved in our schools, who cares about a high quality education. When the time came for us to split from Baldwin County, we felt that the city it was the appropriate timing because the city had the funds in place to support the schools. We had the demographics had changed quite a bit so that we had the demographics to support the schools and the students that we were going to need. We had the growth in place that we were going to need. So it was the right timing to do it. And I knew that the educational system in Gulf Shores was going to soar, and it did. And they've done everything that they should have done. And I'm very, very proud of that.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your platform points. So I reviewed the platform online, which I think is awesome. You have a lot of good ideas there. And one thing in particular that stood out to me was the Citizens Advisory Committee, or the advisory board you were thinking about making.
Right.
If you could talk a little bit about that and how you would select people to be on that committee.
Well, that is actually something that I thought about doing even before I made the decision to run for mayor. So I felt it was important. As I'm out in the community, I'm very community oriented. I talk to a lot of people every day. And as I'm out in the community, what I find the most is that people feel like they're not heard. They feel like they don't necessarily have a voice. They have opinions. They have things that are going on in their neighborhoods, but they don't feel that they are getting through. So it's very difficult. I go to all the council meetings and the work sessions. So what I find is it's very difficult for people to have the courage to go to a city council meeting and address the council. Not everyone is comfortable doing that. People get very nervous. And then when they do, I think they feel like it kind of falls on deaf ears. So that's difficult to do when it's only one person. But if you have a group of people who are supporting you in that endeavor, then it's much easier to do. So the Citizens Advisory Committee is very important to me. I think it gives people a voice, but with some support. So, for instance, if something is going on that's a problem in one particular neighborhood, and I don't live in that neighborhood, then I don't know that that's a problem.
Sure.
So if we're a group and that can be addressed within the group, and then the group can support that at a council meeting or as we address it with the city, there's a lot more attention to it than if one person's standing there by themselves trying to address it. So that's why I think the Citizens Advisory Group is important. Plus, I don't know how you lead a city without talking to the residents. I think that's very important. I think resident input is vital to doing a good job with the city and leading the city in the right direction, because you have to know what people are talking about, what people are thinking. I think it's very important to have a city government that is citizen up rather than government down. I've always, even when I was on the school board, I always tried to lead with and I don't like to say bottom up because it's not the bottom, but it's the people who are on the ground, the people who boots on the ground, the people who are there in the classrooms, the people who are actually dealing with the situation, who are living in the neighborhoods. I can't possibly tell them what they need in their neighborhood if I don't talk to them and know what they feel like they need in their neighborhood. So that's why I think I'm so excited about the Citizens Advisory Committee. It's open to everyone. It's not an appointed where like I'm going to choose this person, this person, and this person, because I think everyone should have a voice and everyone should have an opportunity to serve. I don't think it should be something that's chosen by someone else. I think anyone who wants to do that should have the opportunity.
What comes across your desk the most as like the biggest issue from the people that you hear?
Well, of course, number one is, people want to be heard. I hear that over and over and over. The second thing I would say is residents first. Granted, we're a tourist community. That's who we are. It's a resort town. So, we have tourists come. There are things that we have to do to accommodate tourists. It's our industry. But there are also 17,000 people who live here. Jesus. So we have to make sure that what we put in place and the decisions that we're making aren't just taking care of our tourists, but are also taking care of our residents. Our residents are the ones who, when the tourists go home, are visiting our businesses,
Sure.
in supporting our community in a year-round environment.
Yeah. Would you say things like traffic flow issues or event planning or subjects like that, do they come into your purview a lot when people talk to you?
Absolutely. So after a residents first mindset, the next thing that I hear the most is that people are concerned about growth. And that's always been a concern. We've always been a fast-growing community. Mm-hmm. Because people vacation here and then they want to be here.
Yes.
People are drawn here. It's what drew me here. It's probably what drew you guys here. So I get it. People want to come. But we also have to be mindful of how we grow. We have hundreds and hundreds of housing units that are going up. They're coming for the schools, all of those things. But I would like to personally put a moratorium on larger housing developments until we can get our hands around the infrastructure. And when I talk about infrastructure, I don't just mean roads and utilities, although those things are extremely important.
Sure.
We need roads to go in before subdivisions come and create traffic problems, and then we need roads fixed. So I'm kind of a infrastructure first kind of person. But when I talk about infrastructure, I'm also referring to our businesses and our services. I think a lot of the dollars from those 17,000 residents are being spent elsewhere. They're being spent in neighboring cities where there are things to do, places to shop. If you want to go see your doctor, you have to go to Foley or Fairhope. If you want to go buy something new to wear to a wedding, you have to go somewhere else. We don't have a lot of the basic things that I think we should have. And I think there are ways to get that here. I think we're missing out on jobs, and I think we're missing out on sales tax dollars. I think we're missing out on revenue by not having those things in place.
Yes, my case study for that. So I grew up in a town called Picayune, Mississippi. And in 2004-05, whenever Hurricane Katrina happened, we got hit by that. New Orleans got hit by that. And what happened was a lot of Louisiana residents came over and were set up in FEMA camps and all kinds of stuff in Picayune, and our population doubled.
Right.
And therefore also our crime doubled overnight. So it was immediately necessary to shore up every single bit of emergency services. And I got to watch the man that was our school resource officer, later became the chief that I worked under, and now he's just been reelected as mayor, and he's successfully brought the growth of my hometown up by keeping sure that the emergency services are right there with that commercial growth, and they're doing well, and they're kind of like a suburb of New Orleans now, fittingly.
Right.
And going back to the public safety and the police here, something that I would like to see happen, I know Thomas wants to see this happen too, because we have been through this with the Gulf Shore City Police, is giving them more technology, keeping them up to date. We're in a very central hub, sort of right near Escambia County, right near this whole Mobile and the other side of Baldwin County. There's no reason I don't think this area should not have technology to fight cyberbullying, cybercrime. We went through experiences where we couldn't even get actual investigative research done on who was making threatening calls or things like that. When in Escambia, they could have the software just pull it up and find it automatically.
Right.
There's so much lacking in that cybercrime department, and I think this is an area that desperately needs that as well, especially with how many parents are concerned with bullying at the schools.
Right. Well, even though we're a small town, we are, in the summertime, we have 8 million visitors. So in the summertime, we're a very large town. So, people come through, people we don't know, people, come in and out. And so it is very important for us to have the technology and all the tools that our police department needs in order to make sure we know who's here, who shouldn't be here, and if someone is here who shouldn't be here, to make sure that, that they're taken care of. So, and that can lend itself to a lot of problems that we have to always be aware of. We have human trafficking, and you have other things that can come with and our summer tourists are not a transient crowd, but in a way, it's a different group of people in and out every single week. So there are always people coming in and out, and we don't necessarily know who they are because they don't live here. We're
not getting less attention year by year.
That's exactly right. So yes, that's extremely important that our police department has all the tools it needs to make sure that we can compete with other agencies.
When you think about that too, in terms of how many big name celebrities come here for the music festivals, to the wharf, to all this area, it really is a high traffic area where there's potential for human trafficking or potential for terrorist threats or other things. We don't think about that because we live generally in such a safe place, but this is stuff we don't see. That's not stuff, we're not getting murders and burglaries every day, which is awesome. But there's other things going on that we should be proactive about.
You can certainly start attracting that element more with that growth, because you're just getting a more random stack of people that comes through.
Right.
As they know about its existence.
And more and more of those people, just like we did, come in and stay. Not every one of those people is a good person who comes in and stays. So, we have to be able to keep track of that. Absolutely.
For the other platform points that you had, what were some other things you want to have? I know you mentioned something called the Disney effect. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, we have such a beautiful city, and I love everything about it. And when you come into there are two arterial entrances to the city. We have one coming in from, of course, Highway 59, one coming in from Orange Beach. So, there's only two ways to get here. So when you drive into Gulf Shores, as you enter on County Road 8, I think you should know you're in Gulf Shores. I think, whether that's landscaping or, as you come in there, it should be visibly different.
So like a beautification?
Yes. Okay, I'm in a special place. And when you come over that bridge, it should be perfection. From the bridge to the beach, that arterial drive down Highway 59, it should be perfection. We should not have blight. We should not have blown out signs. We should not have
I agree with that.
Vacant properties that are grown up or haven't been maintained. There should be a very high standard of what our city looks like, not only for our residents and the quality of life for the people who live here, but as tourists come in as well. It's just like when you have a visitor in your home, you want your home clean and you want it to look good for a guest. It's the same thing when we invite guests into our city.
I also wanted to mention, and I'm sure you have included this, but we should definitely have good lighting when we come over those entrances, or even at that roundabout over there that's now there. Mm-hmm. It's so dark when you're driving there at night, and so many times people hit the curb.
It's
and
easy to miss that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, thinking common sense would say that there's going to be lighting there, but maybe it's just not finished. But yes, it is. It's very dark there.
So also with the traffic signals, we have heard a lot of people say stuff about this, and we've said stuff about this too. And I'm glad that they're doing that project with the county, the 42 blocks or something I forgot what it's called. 42 cube.
Oh, 30 cube. 30, is it 30 cube? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
There's a number in cube.
Right.
They're doing that in conjunction with the county to fix that Oak Road West terrible light up there. That intersection is the worst intersection in town. It's terrible.
Yes.
For many reasons.
Yes.
So I'm glad that's getting fixed. But also I feel like we don't want to overthink every single intersection or every project. And some of these things I feel like just need better timing. The timing is so off. They stick you there for over 5 minutes. 3 cars get through, and then it's frozen again for another 10 minutes. It feels like it's forever.
Right.
So how did those timings come to exist, and how do we fix that?
I think, I'm not absolutely positive, but I think we have control over that. I think we can set the timing on those lights.
Because when I went to my chiropractor yesterday, it was better, and the line of traffic actually got through before it turned red.
Well, County Road 6, and those people are coming out of there, that is their only way out. Unless they go all the way around, to 4, but that is the only way out of their neighborhood to get onto 59. And if they have to sit through that light for 3 or 4 cycles before they can get out. I've been there before, even where I live, coming out with the road work coming out on Highway 59 from Clubhouse Drive or the Wedgwood area. The 2 lights there are forever long. So, I have to give myself an extra 10 minutes to get somewhere so that I can get through the light. So, you shouldn't have to sit through a light that long. And I get it. They're trying to flow traffic down 59 and, some of those things. But again, the residents, we live here.
Places to go.
We have things that we need to do, fix the light.
We can't serve you if we can't get to where we work.
That's exactly right.
So what about all of the neighborhoods with the backed up sewage? And it didn't really occur to me until somebody brought it up, because that's, what I'm seeing a lot of. But apparently that's another problem that's countywide, not just in this area, is sewage backup, also due to the development coming in. The system that we have can't keep up with the volume that's increased over
Yeah, and that's another part of the infrastructure question. So that's something that when a developer submits a site plan, you're supposed to have a complete engineering plan on how the utilities are going to move through there, how the sewage is going to be processed, and something's not happening correctly. If it's being built and it's not to standard for the utility companies to be able to handle it, the utility companies are supposed to sign off on the site plans. So somewhere along the way, there's the ball's being dropped. So we need to figure out why we're having those problems on the back end, because it's really something that should be addressed on the front end.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to develop entire neighborhoods when the community sewage is not adequate for what you have now.
Right. So you already have issues like that in certain places, and then you just keep bringing in more and more and more before you address what you already have.
Right. Beautiful traffic circle, awful smell as you drive down the canal.
Right. So, those are all things, just like, schools, something that you address before a subdivision comes in, not after a subdivision. You don't build a new school or start planning a new school because you had, 1,000 new housing units come in. You look at those kinds of things before the housing units come in so that you can be prepared for it, so you can be prepared for the growth.
What do you think of the school moving from where it is in kind of a nice little back of the neighborhood location to out on the expressway?
I really think it's something that was necessary. Yeah. The schools, while it's, when I moved here, we had 5,000 residents. Mm-hmm. So it was great to have your elementary, your middle, and your high school right there on the same block. And, it worked. But now that we've grown so much, we have so many more students. Our elementary school has over 1,000 students in it now. It's a very large elementary school.
Yes.
And so we've just outgrown that location. Mm-hmm. So the more natural spot would be to move that high school, where it is. I think it's a good place, because then you can also have, you might have a practice fields there and a stadium there, and the other things that support the high school as well. So I was actually on the committee back in 2012, I was on the school board then, when we were talking about the plans for that new high school. So, the plan was always to be able to move the middle school students into the high school students to a new location, and the elementary students could kind of spread out into the elementary and middle school. The other thing is that what made it a little dangerous about having all those schools on the same block is, high school, you have drivers. So you've got a lot of young kids walking and biking around that area. And then you mix that with, about, 400, high school kids, and, about 2/3 of those as drivers, and that can cause problems. Sure. So I think it was a good move to move it where it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, we were just blown away at the quality of the school system. Just doing the walkthrough, they weren't even. They were still in session, but just the amenities and everything. That's very impressive.
I think the current school board has done a phenomenal job of. There were a lot of challenges. Just the process of splitting from the county system was difficult. There was a lot of negotiation. I wasn't part of that. I resigned when we became a city system, so I wasn't in the negotiations on that. But I'm sure that it was pretty tenuous. It was, they aren't quick to let go, and we were trying to get what we felt we deserved. So it's it was challenging, I'm sure. But to go through that process, and then to evaluate what we have in place, and then to figure out how to build from there, bring in a new superintendent, make sure that the mindset of the new superintendent is the same as what, is going to offer everything that the parents and the teachers of parents, teachers, and students of our island deserve and want. So you have to get everyone on the same table, and, on this, in the same area, and I think they've done a good job of that.
Do you foresee any like mass exit away from the Baldwin County school system by other surrounding municipalities?
I know some of the other municipalities have thought about it. It's all basically a financial decision. So it's whether the city coffers can support a city school system.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So there are other other cities who would have liked to do the same thing that we did, but weren't in the position to do so, and felt that maybe if they stayed with the county, that they would have some opportunity in there, to be able to work with the county to get some of the things they wanted through things like a 3 meal tax, and we had that opportunity as well. But where you can pass a 3 meal tax in the city, where those funds stay in the city, and you can kind of work with the system to figure out how you want to use those funds with your school system. So there are ways to do it, and some chose to stay with the county system and work through it that way, and some chose to, we chose to break off. Orange Beach chose to break off. So a lot of it is a financial decision.
Gotcha.
I know there's I don't know how far they're getting. The city of Foley's kind of talking about it. I know there's one gentleman running for city council who part of his platform is to have a Foley system. So I don't know how much support there is for that.
I think that's what I'm thinking of and referencing. Yeah.
Maybe so. I know I've heard him talk about that, but I don't know if there's support for that or not.
It just seems that there's a lot of dissent against the county system at large.
Well, when we were the last, they called it a feeder pattern. So we were the last city to get a high school and create our feeder pattern way back years before, I moved here. Because we used to be part of Foley, and then we got our own high school. We finally got the population to get our own high school. So back when I ran for school board, the problem was that we were always kind of felt like we were kind of the stepchild. It's like, they'll take care of themselves, or they don't need it, they're small, or so we never kind of felt like we were getting our piece of the pie.
Sure.
So that's why I ran for school board in the first place, to make sure we had a voice, and so that someone who could kind of fight for our piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. So I hate to use the word fight, but someone who's pulling for us.
Sometimes it's like that.
That's right. So it gave me a very valuable experience to go onto the school board, because you had 7 people there. They're all pulling in different directions. So this one wants something. I want something for my cities. They want something for theirs. They want something for theirs. They want something for theirs. So everyone's pulling in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult environment to work in and to represent your district, because you kind of have to talk them into doing what you need for your district, and hopefully you can work together so that they get something, they get something, they get something, so that everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So what's good about the Gulf Shores school system is that I believe there are 5 school board members there, like everyone's pulling in the same direction. Everyone on that school board is for Gulf Shores. Yeah. So it's a much easier work environment than it was when I was on the board.
I would imagine it would be a more simplified process, being targeted toward one school system versus countywide.
Yes, absolutely.
Things done,
absolutely.
less red tape.
Absolutely, right. And, we have a big county, and it's a very diverse county. So what the people in Fairhope want, or the people in Robertsdale want, can look very different from what the people in Gulf Shores want.
Absolutely.
So sometimes it's just very difficult to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and we definitely, when you were talking about people being unheard, like we've gone to the commission meetings and have definitely felt unheard.
Saying, I wrote every municipality government in Baldwin County to see if they would meet with me, if they would give me a tour of the city, if they would tell me about what's going on in the city, tell me about the amenities, just introduce myself, tell what I had done in Escambia County. One city said, yes, come on, we'd love to have you and show you around. And that was Orange Beach in the whole county. That's the only place that made the
Wow.
time for me. And I was not heard by anyone else, or they didn't care. And then we found out at Baldwin County, at the county level, they were actually told, don't reply to her. She'll go away. Okay. That's how it is. So I have not heard from anyone at Gulf Shores except for the clerk. I had been in contact with him about things unrelated to introducing myself to the mayor and everything, but I have reached out. No one has ever got back to me. But Orange Beach was very great. So I liked the way they were so responsive and excited to show off their city, tell me about all their art center and the events they got going on. It was very cool. I think we should be like that too.
Well, with you having this venue, it's, you have the opportunity to really spread the news about all the good things that are happening in Gulf Shores. So I see no reason why someone would not want to reach out to you and show you the city and share all the great things that are happening. It's, I don't understand it myself.
I think some people don't want eyes on them sometimes. That's I don't know. Another thing I wanted to just ask about or put in your ear, if you are elected mayor, which will be really cool, we're pulling for you.
Thank you.
I am. Is that when I worked for other mayors in Pensacola, a lot of them would go, not a lot, it was kind of half and half, but some would go to a mayor's conference with other mayors from other cities. Even they'd go to DC and like the whole country, they'd go hang out with other mayors. The sheriffs would have a little coalition. I asked the mayor of Pensacola if he knew the mayor of Gulf Shores, and he said they'd never met. He'd never been to a mayor's conference thing. There seems to be no communication between entities or local governments that are right side by side, big cities. And we've even been told like Mobile talks to Pensacola more than anyone in Baldwin County. And this area is kind of like bypassed in their own little silo of not being communicative with the local governments around them. So I'd really like to see that change. I want to see somebody in office who's willing to talk and meet with other mayors and see what best practices are and talk about what's working, what's not working. Because, I mean, I don't understand what's wrong with communicating with other people.
Well, I personally learned through communicating. So I like to talk to people from different areas, from people from different backgrounds, people who have different occupations, mayors from other cities. I like to go visit other cities and see what they're doing. What are they doing great? What does their waterfront look like? What have they done well? What have they not done well? How would I want to be different? How could we be, how could we do something that they have that's working out, that's working out great? I think that's how you learn. That's how if Pensacola is doing something amazing and Gulf Shores is, we all share the same coast. So of course, I think there's sometimes even within Baldwin County, the mayors don't talk enough. So I think it's important. I think it's important to communicate with everyone. I have reached out to other mayors in Baldwin County. There are some mayors in our county that are doing some great things, and I want to learn. I want to know what are you doing? Why are you doing that? How did you accomplish that? Is that something that'll work in my city? And if it doesn't, then I'll have to go somewhere else to figure that out somewhere else. But that makes perfect common sense to me.
And who wouldn't want somebody in office that was teachable, wanted to learn things and improve with the people in mind, not necessarily the dollar signs that people from the outside bring in?
Well, you can't ever get so you can't ever get to a point. Yeah, you can't ever put yourself in a position where you just feel like you don't need that. I don't need to talk to anyone. I know what I'm doing. I don't need ideas. What we're doing is great, and I don't need input from anyone else. That's a very dangerous position to be in.
Absolutely is.
And as personally, even in my personal life, as a 62-year-old woman, I'm a mom, about to be a grandmother. I am still learning. You're always learning. So to shut yourself off, to and not be open to learning from other people, I think is a travesty.
I totally agree with you. And also, I just want to say, 62 years old, you were out there killing it at CrossFit. I saw your video. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Gotta respect that.
I can barely walk still, but thank you.
But I was thinking the same thing about It's interesting to note that the Pensacola International Airport had their highest, most record-breaking year of all time since their inception, just the weekend of Santa My Boots Festival. That's how much the Gulf Shores economy is affecting Pensacola and their economy. These areas are intertwined, and we don't think about it that way because it's different counties and we're not really interacting. And for me to know that that mayor doesn't know this mayor, but the economies are that, coalesced and working together. I feel like that needs to be a frequent conversation, like almost monthly check-ins at least.
Right. Well, our economy affects every city in the state. We generate a large portion of tax dollars that go to Montgomery that support a lot of other things. So absolutely, we need to be having conversations about how that affects other cities, how that affects our state, and how that comes back to affect the residents here in Gulf Shores.
We had conceived of what if Baldwin County broke into two parts. And apparently we weren't the only one with that idea, because literally the next day, Chris Elliott had a article written and published it. What do you think of something like that to keep the dollars a little more condensed to the area from where they're generated?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. There are probably areas north of the county that would not be favorable to that.
Right.
But and it's not, sometimes the areas in the northern side of Baldwin County think that we, kind of think we're all that, and just, we don't need anybody else, and we just, we can take care of ourselves, which is kind of, I don't like that frame of mind either. Right. It's a big county. When I was on the school board, I drove an hour and 15 minutes every time we had a meeting to Bay Minette. It's a large county.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Having to drive an hour to court for one particular thing, and
Specifically speaking about the geographical area of the county, it's huge. So, yes, I mean, you could split the county north and south and still have a very large area in both cases.
Well, it seems like the commission that we have for the county is way too small for the area and the economy that we cover.
To have only 4 representatives for the entire county is, Well,
and there's been a bill proposed by Chris Elliott to have a 5th member, but it keeps getting shot down, and it's been coming up since 2018.
It seems to me ridiculous to not have a 5th member, to not have a tiebreaker vote or some sort of way to say we have a quorum, like that even number. That's unheard of to me. It's very rare.
Right.
I don't like that at all.
Well, it's very difficult to represent an area in our county. For instance, if you have, I think Skip Gruber is our representative, and he represents, if I'm not mistaken, Foley, Alberta, Lillian, all the way down Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. And again, talking about the diversity, that's those are all very different communities.
Absolutely.
With different needs. So, I experienced that when I was on the school board. So my district was Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and Alberta. Well, each of those communities wanted completely different things in their school system. So it puts your representative in a very difficult spot, because sometimes what you do for this one affects this one negatively. So you really always have to kind of be on guard and make sure that you're making decisions that benefit all of your constituents. And that's difficult when you have, such a diverse area. So again, back to the additional county board member, that would make sense.
It takes a lot of boldness and courage to challenge the status quo, especially when a mayor has been there for decades and decades and has such deep family ties. What made you consider taking this jump and taking on that challenge, which I know can be extremely difficult?
Thank you. It's other people have asked me the same question. I've never run away from a challenge, so the challenge doesn't bother me. I think that when the same people are in office for decades and decades, although there have, like I try to tell people, it's like, I'm not trying to come in and just be a disruptor and break everything up and, we don't need this and we don't need that. And, we need to start over and change everything. That's not what my intention is. That's not what I'm trying to do. I think there have some good things have happened. Some good things have been done. I feel that when you have the same leadership in place for decades, 21 years to be exact, I think that the time is right for change. And it doesn't have to be, I think we need a change in leadership style. People are just ready for something new. And I actually had people approach me about running for mayor, and I asked them, why do you feel that we need a change? And that was exactly their question. It's like, after 21 years, something needs to be changed. We need a different approach. I have a very different approach towards the mayoral position. And everyone's different. Everyone has a different leadership style. I am a very approachable person. I lead by listening to people. I always want input. I always want to know what the citizens think about what we're doing. I think people are very smart. They have the right at times, like I'll give you an example, the Santa My Boots Festival. It's a very controversial issue. There are a lot of people that are for it. Now it's changed. So even still, there are people for it because of some of the differences changes that have made there. There are a lot of people against it. And most of those people are people who are affected directly by it, the people that live in that area and the people that listen to it. I live probably 2 miles from the beach road, and I can hear it at my house.
Yeah, we can hear it.
So in my opinion, that should be a referendum, or people should be able to vote on that and let the citizens decide. They're smart. They know what they want and what they don't want. So let them decide instead of just top down saying this is what we're going to do, and then y'all are just going to have to go with it. I just want a very transparent, honest approach to leading the city. And, the city council that's in place, whoever ends up in those seats, I look forward to working with every single one of them, whether it's the exact same people that are there now or new people in those seats. I look forward to working with everyone. I've always been able to bring people together to get the job done, and I think I can still do that. So, the challenge is not something that I'm afraid of, and I believe in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So that's good for me.
I really think we can honor and respect the past and how far Gulf Shores has come in 21 years without being stuck in the past.
Right.
And that's kind of the line that I see the city walking. So to see a new shift in direction without saying, okay, this was terrible, we're like done with it. It wasn't terrible. It was great. There's been a lot of great progress and good things happening. And we can honor that while also looking forward, I believe. So
I agree. I think I think the timing was right now, because I think we're at a pivotal point for our city. Where decisions going forward, we've grown from, since I came here, like I said, from 5,000 residents to 17,000 residents, and that number is just going to continue to grow. So I think it's very important for us to take a pause and decide as a community, not as me or as the mayor or as, other, people on the council. I think it's important for the community to come together and decide how we grow from here. And we can either turn into an overpopulated, over-commercialized beach town, or we can carefully grow with a residents first mindset and make sure that the people who live here are happy.
I agree.
Do you think that a change in governorship for the state in the upcoming election is going to help drive forward momentum for positive change? Or do you think that that's not going to have much bearing?
I think it always has bearing. Leadership changes everything that happens below it. So just like the governorship affects how our states run, which eventually trickles down to how our citizens live their lives and how our cities, communicate and have their, run their day-to-day operations. It's always affected, just like our presidential election affects how it has its effect on how everyone lives. So the same with our city government. So one of the things that's very important to me is, we need to remember that our government works for us. It's not the other way around. So when you want to build a deck on your house and you make a call to the city, you should get a quick response. You should get a response. It should be a quick response. It should be a how can I help you attitude of customer service. And that's whether you're building a deck, whether you're opening a business, whether you're, moving to the area and you want to know, something about, one of our departments, getting a business license, whatever it is you're trying to do. We need to be better at customer service. And I think that comes from the top. I think, that trickles down. If it's something that I expect out of myself, if I'm expected to return a call, and that would be a standard for me, I'm going to return your call. I'm going to return your call in a timely manner. You're going to have my cell phone number. I'm not going to be hidden behind, a secretary or 4 secretaries. I have an open door. I want to talk to people. Someone has a problem, then I want to know what it is. So everyone in every department should have that same type of mindset, so that our citizens feel like their city works for them.
Would you tell us a little bit about how people can get involved in your campaign, the events you have coming up, and any future plans?
Great. Yes, my website is swigerformayor.com. On that website, you'll see my bio. You can learn anything that you'd like to learn about me. We also have opportunities there to donate, to volunteer with the campaign, to how you can spread the news. We also have a link there where you can register to vote. That is, if I may take a moment, that's something that I would like to touch on. In our last election, we had 2,671 people in Gulf Shores voted in 2020. So we need to get people out to vote. If you live here in Gulf Shores, if you're new to Gulf Shores, please get out and register. You can do it online now. You don't have to fill out the paperwork and mail it in and all those things that we used to have to do. I have a campaign event coming up. We call it the Meet, Greet, and Eat. It's going to be at Meyer Park, right here in Meyer Park on June the 6th from 5:30 to 7:30. You'll have an opportunity there to get some merchandise from the campaign. I'm going to speak to the Grim, kind of what my platform is and what I'm all about. But I am mostly looking forward to getting out and talking to all of you. Our local celebrity chef, John Helmers, is going to come cook up some jambalaya. Ooh. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have some music by Just Roger, and going to be playing for the campaign. And it's going to be a great afternoon, and I hope everyone time cornhole and some fun games. So it's going to be a great afternoon, and I hope everyone will come out and join us. There'll be opportunities again there. Also, register to vote. You'll be able to let us know if you.
We'll definitely be there.
Also, opportunities to donate to the campaign.
Awesome. I'm excited. We'll definitely be there.
Great. Thank you.
So check out our website and you can learn more. Remember, it is swigerformayor.com.
Yes.
You can check out our website and you can learn more, and feel free to contact her with any questions. We'll drop the contact info for you. She's very transparent and open, so I'm sure she'd love to talk and answer anything you might have.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming out here today and talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.